Jo Violetta.
And I'm Shelby Brooks.
Coming up, a Frankston councillor suspended for bullying, a public urination problem for Somerville, and billionaire Lindsay Fox's battle with Mornington Shire.
Sorrento's iconic Continental Hotel has a new owner. In a deal worth an estimated $22 million, the four-storey limestone landmark has been saved from an uncertain future after previous developer Stella ran into financial difficulties. According to the MP News, the new owner is committed to finishing the Stella refurbishment and wants to return the 144-year-old iconic to its former glory days, allaying the fears of locals who had turned out in force in July to express their concerns. The sale is being touted as a significant win for the much-loved Continental Hotel and the wider community, given the purchaser's commitment to engaging with stakeholders and manage the gauntlet of planning, heritage and legal strictures to get the 1875 landmark into a viable and pristine state.
A City of Frankston councillor has been suspended for bullying a deaf colleague in what has been described as toxic behaviour. Steve Toms, former Frankston Deputy Mayor, received a 4-month suspension after an independent inquiry described his behaviour as intimidating, offensive and disrespectful. The complaint was compiled by Mayor Michael O'Reilly. Mr Toms denied bullying councillor Lillian O'Connor, but the inquiry said his conduct towards her included nasty looks, laughing, smirking and exclusion, along with remarks about her being deaf. He was also found to be rorting a ratepayer-funded cab charge card and hassling a council officer over a parking ticket. Along with the suspension, he must write an apology to Councillor O'Connor and undertake a refresher training course.
Local marine biologists have started a dragon quest to help save a native species of sea dragon in Port Phillip Bay. Divers and snorkelers who swim in Port Phillip Bay are being asked to share photographs of the weedy sea dragon to help scientists monitor population numbers. The Victorian National Parks Association say the sea dragon, which is also Victoria's marine emblem, has rarely been studied. Already 50 divers have submitted more than 3,000 images to Reef Watch as part of the project.
Trucking billionaire Lindsay Fox has received a slap on the wrist for illegally ripping up beachside vegetation and replacing it with a massive lawn at his Portsea property. Mr Fox was a no-show at Dramana Court as his company W Everton Park pleaded guilty to 2 charges of failing to comply with Mornington Peninsula Shire Council's planning scheme. He copped a $20,000 fine for ripping out protective native and non-native grasses to install an irrigation system and roll out turf without a permit. The turf remains and is subject to further action in VCAT. And now we have Elena Allen, CEO of the Bays in Mornington, to tell us about what they're doing in the community to encourage older people to maintain health and wellness.
Thanks, Eleanor, for coming into our studio for our interview this week. Could you maybe just begin to tell our viewers about your health and wellbeing event that was held last week? What did it focus on?
Yes, our health and wellbeing event last week focused on issues affecting ageing and healthy ageing, positive ageing, and was very well attended by over 250 guests. We had 2 very engaging speakers, Mr Gerard Mansour and Dr Vikram Bala, who's one of our physicians at the Bays with a special interest in geriatrics and dementia.
Older age is a period marked by many transitions and turning points in people's lives, with each potentially involving a unique set of challenges, but also opportunities. Australia's population is ageing rapidly due to a combination of factors including increasing life expectancy and the effect of the baby boomer generation progressing into older age. The Mornington Peninsula has the 2nd highest population in Victoria, with over 30% of residents over the age of 60, compared to the Melbourne metropolitan average of 17%. The Shire's commitment to enhancing the health, participation and security of older residents within the community shows their dedication to moulding the peninsula as a place to age well. The Mornington Peninsula Shire is currently developing a new positive ageing strategy. This is by extensive community consultation.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And so can you tell us about some of those issues that were talked about at the event, the major issues facing older people in our community?
I think some of the major issues that are facing older people in our community are maintaining independence. There is an increasing desire, and rightly so, for our elders to remain at home as long as possible, supported by services in the community, and the shift towards consumer-directed care has facilitated this to happen. However, there still is a great need for home-based care, so what people are familiar with, residential aged care for our elders in the community, and that's a very valid method for elders who are no longer able to be cared for in their own homes.
And so what is the Bays doing in the aged care sector at the moment?
The Bays actually has a residential aged care home at Hastings. Currently we have 75 residents living with us, and in May next year, when we complete the first of a two-stage redevelopment of our site, that number of residents living with us will increase to 90, and thereafter hopefully to 120 in the coming years when we complete the second stage of that development.
What advice could you give to families who have loved ones that are facing some of these issues, such as dementia?
It's really important, I think, to communicate. It's important to talk to your GP as the first place that you can start having that conversation. But also, Gerard Mansour was very generous in providing us with some resources, which if members of the community would like to pop into the Bays and pick up, we can provide them, about having those conversations with your family and actually understanding what it is you want to achieve out of aging positively. It's okay to age. Dr. Vikram Bala said at our health and wellbeing program, aging is not a disease. It's a process of life. Dementia is a disease. And that is something that is becoming more and more prevalent as we live longer and longer. And it's something that many of our families, your family, my friends, are dealing with right now. And it's very complex. But certainly I think having those conversations with your family and understanding what your grandma or even your mum or even, you know, younger people having early onset dementia, what are their wishes? What do they want to do? It's very, very important to understand what those persons' needs and desires are and to have a plan in place. It's not a taboo subject, it's part of life.
I'm very excited and delighted now to be able to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Gerard Mansour. Gerard is the Commissioner for Senior Victorians and the Ambassador for Elder Abuse Prevention.
My role is a pretty straightforward one. When my friends say to me, so what do you do? You know, what's a commissioner do? And the reality is my job is to give everybody who's over the age of 60 a voice. And it's the real significant implication of our ageing of our population, to making sure that as we age, we don't become invisible, and that government, business, government departments, organisations all hear the voices of older people.
Dementia doesn't know any social, economic or ethnic boundaries. It has struck some most intellectual and active people over the decades. It is the second leading cause of death in Australians. In 2016, dementia became leading cause of death in Australian women. In 2018, the estimated cost was around 15 billion. And in current year, we are estimating that there is around 450,000 Australians living with this disease. So there's no vitamin or supplement, food or drug which is shown to cure the Alzheimer's. The best bet is a well-balanced Mediterranean diet rich in fruits and vegetable, fish, nuts. So you eat nuts, you won't go nuts. So it helps to protect your brain.
Eleanor, we've given a gift back to the community and it's beautiful. And as the Commissioner says, we're connecting people, we're forming groups. So when we first started having this program to talk about dementia, I did not intend to be a speaker. However, I have got a personal experience to share today because my father died of dementia on Monday. And I thought there were things that I learned that I should have done, the things that I should have read your book 5 years ago that I should have done. And as a doctor, I thought that I knew everything, you know.
And so you mentioned the Commissioner of Senior Victorians was at your event last week. What sort of outcomes can we expect from his work?
Yeah, Gerard is extremely busy. He has been travelling, in fact, spending a lot of time doing exactly what we were just talking about, which is communicating with senior Australians about what it is that's important to them and about what it means to age positively in Australia. Australia has an ageing population, and particularly here on the Mornington Peninsula, our population is an ageing population, and it is increasing. We actually have one of the oldest populations, if you like, in the Victorian region, right here on the Mornington Peninsula. And so for us here, for the Bays Hospital in particular, we are focused on the health and well-being of that population, and as it increases both locally and nationally. And the work of the Commissioner is actually very inspiring in that space, and I'm looking forward to the report that he will generate out of his most recent reviews.
The Shires has put together an incredible program to celebrate the 2019 Victorian Seniors Festival. I encourage each and all of you to join in the celebrations right across the peninsula this October.
So do you have any special messages for us just before we finish today, and where can viewers go to find out more information?
Yes, I do. Our health and wellbeing program is actually free to the community, so anyone can attend. It is our gift back to the Mornington community. If you would like to attend, or yourself and a few friends, you can actually register by calling the hospital directly or through our events page. There's always time for a chat and a cuppa at the event. We love to do that. And also, if you have an interest in our membership or would like to become a member, you can also do that by contacting the hospital or via our website.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for telling us all about the great work you're doing in the community. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Hastings Police are cracking down on public urinators at Somerville Plaza. Men and some women have been caught on CCTV relieving themselves at the rear of the plaza near the bins. Traders say they are fed up with the smell and brazen behaviour and have complained to the council. 4 people have been nabbed already, and police are hoping to find more with images online of people they wish to speak to. And now we have our monthly finance report brought to you by David Robertson from Bendigo Bank.
More volatility in the markets and uncertainty for the outlook, thanks to the usual suspects of trade and technology disputes. An update of our view going into spring for interest rates, the housing and equity markets, and the broader economy. The familiar trend of trade wars and brinkmanship has intensified around the world, adding volatility to exchange rates and stock markets, and taking its toll on business investment, especially in manufacturing businesses. Manufacturing surveys around the world have been steadily declining for over a year now, especially in East Asia, as the chart shows. But now the US are also suffering from the trade wars that they initiated, and the recent inversion of the US yield curve, where long-term rates are now cheaper than short-term rates, is a clear sign of higher risks for the United States economy next year. Despite this, the US dollar is continuing to strengthen, especially against the euro and the pound, as Brexit risks pick up, but also against the Aussie dollar and the Chinese yuan, which is above 7 for the first time since the GFC. In many ways, the Australian dollar is a proxy for the Chinese economy and emerging markets. Therefore, as uncertainty grows, the US dollar is in demand, despite their falling interest rates. So, we continue to expect a weakening Aussie dollar, still likely to reach 65 cents, which remains good news for export markets, including service exports, especially local tourism. The unrest in Hong Kong and some weaker data from China have added to this trend. However, the other dependable trend at present is falling interest rates, with our 10-year government bond below 1% for the first time on record. And the RBA cash rate likely to be reduced by November and again next year to 0.5%. Although unlike Japan and Europe, the prospect of negative interest rates is still pretty remote. The main takeaway from recent RBA comments isn't just that there are more rate cuts coming, it is that rates are highly likely to remain low for many years, which is a massive shift from where we were just 6 to 9 months ago. This in turn should support asset prices, especially housing. So the 15% fall peak to trough for Sydney and 12% for Melbourne property is likely to have mainly run its course. And property prices in other cities and regions should also benefit from lower rates, the tax cuts and some easier policy settings. How these ultra-low rates impact stock markets is a tougher call, although it is worth noting that despite all the media hype on falling stocks, we're still less than 4% below the recent record highs. And record low interest rates may artificially inflate asset prices for a while. But when thinking about geopolitical risks around the globe, including Hong Kong and China, Brexit and trade tensions, a cautious position still seems the most sensible one. And lastly, Australia's updated GDP growth rate is released on Wednesday the 4th, which may slow further to around 1.5%, with exports adding to growth but domestic consumption dragging the chain. So we may need more time before the recent rate cuts and tax cuts lift consumer confidence and business investment. And that's the market update from Bendigo Bank.
Footy finals action was at Olympic Park Rosebud at the weekend, but the day was marred by 2 serious injuries, reminding us, the fans and players, that footy, when played at an intense finals level, can be dangerous. Worse, both injuries were to Edie Asp players. No sooner had the ambulance taken the first casualty, Lockie O'Connor, away for treatment, than a second harrowing injury to Edie Asp ruckman Chris Wiley brought the Division 1 reserve final to its second complete halt. The time delay was for an hour as coaching and medical staff worked on a leg injury in the centre of the ground. Edie Asp officials are concerned for the players, both of whom are tradies, and the impact the injuries will have on their livelihoods. And over to Lisa Lenoble for the Snow Report.
Lisa Lenoble with the Mount Baw Snow Report, brought to you from the RPPV studio this Friday, the 13th of September. A cold front is likely to bring rain to the Aussie Alps late Friday, followed by a light dusting of snow early Saturday. High pressure will clear things up later on Sunday and provide a mostly sunny day, so get out there and enjoy the spring skiing. So, what's on at Baw Baw this weekend? We have 4 lifts open, ski lessons on in the beginners area, and the toboggan park is open for the kiddies, so don't forget to pack those. We also have Japanese snowball fighting this weekend, which will be a whole lot of fun for everyone. Pack the car, bring your smiles. We look forward to seeing you this weekend. I'm Lisa Lenoble. Thanks for watching. Be safe on the slopes.
And now for your weather on the peninsula this week.
Lisa Lenoble with the Mornington Peninsula 7-day forecast this Friday, the 13th of September. Friday will bring a mix of sun and clouds, a high of 13 and a low of 9. Winds 20 kilometres an hour, northwest. Saturday mainly sunny, a high of 14 and a low of 13. Winds 13 northwest. Sunday, cloudy with showers, a high of 14 and a low of 10. The winds will be tending 26 kilometres from the southwest. The extended outlook on the whole, the winds are likely to be moderate. Looks like the best days for being outdoors will be Monday and Tuesday next week. Monday we can expect a mix of sun and clouds, a high of 11 and a low of 9. Tuesday, beautiful sunny day, a high of 14 and a low of 9. Wednesday, chance of shower, a high of 13 and a low of 10. Thursday, cloudy with a chance of shower, a high of 17 and a low of 12. I'm Lisa Lenoble. That's it for this week's weather. Have a beautiful weekend.
And that's the news from coast to coast. I'm Shelby Brooks.
And I'm Jo Violetta. See you next week.